Alright, we got the Stoke Mountain Ventures 9R here. Carter just got it back. 165 shorty. And there's a lot of parts put on. This year I'm running 155 classic rails from Ice Age. And then the 8-inch Hellfire wheels, Zebro shocks, Camzo track, Smith grade bumpers, Skins hood, Ibex clutching, Munster finger throttle, Fire and Ice, primary outer cover with the tie bolts and your weight bolts, Ice Age rear bolt and washer, full cheetah setup, Seco seat, and then got a cover for the 7S from ClearTech, and then there's ceramic detailer for it too. So we're just pulling the 9R apart here. I'm gonna start pulling the front bumper off here. Got my couple T40s out. Just gotta drill out these rivets for these hood latches. I'm pulling this plastic piece off here, and it's pretty straightforward. T40 on each side, 2 T40s on top. You got a couple pop rivets there, one here, one on the other side. And then there's one right about here, but on the other side, and then this is just where your clutch tool holds this panel piece. Just use a screwdriver and tap on this. This is just your gas tank screw lid thing, whatever you want to call it, on the floor anyways. That just holds this piece down. Pop this off, and then you got your, for your switches and stuff and your tether, just disconnect that, your key, and then you can pop this whole plastic piece off. And then right inside here is where your where are we here? Right there is where all your connections are for your warmers and tether, and well, everything is inside there. So we got to get into there so we can get our Munster stuff wired in, and our warmers for our bar set up and everything. So pretty much just gonna disassemble the whole sled right now. Okay, so I got my primary cover off, got the front bumper off. I'm gonna pull the shocks now, front shocks. Got my stock exhaust out.
Your forearms look huge.
Just jacked. Oh God. Camera comes out and can't put a weight in.
Get some hair around that hole.
What am I doing wrong? Well, we're making some progress here. Front exit shocks are on. Got my Munster finger throttle and kill switch wired in. I'm not gonna do the bars till morning. Gotta get some filming of that. I got my Fire and Ice outer primary, billet aluminum. Then I got titanium bolts for it. And then I also have titanium pin bolts for the weights. So I got an Ibex 9R clutch kit in here right now. Primary spring, the weights, I got them loaded. We'll see how that works tomorrow. Just gotta doing a different track, so I might have to adjust the weights a little bit. And then for my secondary, I just have it off right now, so when I do the skid, but I have a helix in there and also a different secondary spring and a slip washer for the spring to freely spin inside there. So that's that right now. I'm just finishing my skins hood. Just got to drill in my GPS receiver here. Drill that in. I got the faceplate on. Got all the wiring out. Just need to get that all in. Swapped over my hood latches right here. So then the hood will be done. Next, I think plan is do my skid, which is going to be some 155 Chaos Classic Ice Age rails with 8-inch Hellfire wheels, and also an Elevate kit in the front. So in doing that, if you're putting a 9R clutch kit from Ibex in, there's like a little metal spacer piece in behind, like the factory weight. You just got to pull that out, and then these weights slide right in. And then for these outer tie bolts for this fire and ice cover, it's 8 foot-pounds of torque, of course cross evenly. Putting the helix in from the back side, heat up where the T27s are, just heat up with a torch, heat those up really good, and then it'll warm up that Loctite, and then you should be able to back those 4 bolts out pretty easy, and then just do the helix swap and the spring. Right now I'm just gonna do these Pin Performance foot stirrups. The factory bolt is an 8mm, and the hardware that it comes with is 3/16 Allen and then a 10mm nut. And yeah, pretty straightforward. Pull the old one off, one nut on the inside here, and then one right in there, and then pull that off, slap the Pin Performance one on. I'm running theirs because these factory ones are breaking very easily. Doesn't take a whole lot of kicking it or hitting it with some force, and you'll just snap these right off. So Pin Performance ones are really beefy. Definitely should not break these. It's a solid piece. If I break that, well, I guess I'm doing a good job of whatever I'm doing. One thing to make sure to do is when you put an Elevate kit on, right here on your front skid bolt, there's like a half drilled hole through this outer faceplate here. So you're gonna wanna drill that through and drop that skid bolt into that bolt hole. That's gonna now drop the front of your skid down a little bit, which then essentially lifts the whole sled. So you're going up an inch in the back, or sorry, the front, and I'd say probably almost an inch right here too, that distance. And reason being is I did not read the instructions the first time I did this, and I just threw the Elevate kit on and I left that skid bolt there, and what that did is it put a weird rear shock pressure, and it made the rear skid, like, because the front was lifted, so it was pushing down on that rear shock, so it was making the rear shock act weird. And then as soon as I got some info from Ice Age and they asked if I read the instructions, I'm like, yeah, who reads instructions? So anyways, read the instructions, drill that hole out, drop that, and then bang, it was amazing. So make sure you drill out that hole, and then you're golden. So yeah, that's gonna be my next go around here as soon as I finish the skins hood. We'll do the whole skid, we'll put the track on, And then I'm gonna start the wrap. So I'm also changing this to Chaos. So yeah. So we got one elevate spindle on now. Just got to tighten it up. You need a 15, 16, 17, I believe. That's what I'm using. Straightforward. You just loosen the bolts. This stock bolt drops down through the bottom. Take your tie rod, steering arm, bolt off, take your upper ball joint for your upper arm nut off, and then they give you the hardware and instructions to do it. The bigger diameter washers for your lower ball joint use the supplied bolt, big washer bottom, big washer top nut. Then for the upper, big washer right below the upper ball joint, go through and then use one little washer and a nut. And then for your tie rod, little washer top, little washer bottom, and nut. So you use 6 of each total. And yeah, tighten her up and make sure your alignment is correct. If you have to adjust it, obviously you can adjust your toe in and toe out. Shouldn't have to adjust it, but for some reason I did have to adjust mine a little bit last year, but it was minor. And then toss your ski bushing or insert back in and put the skis back on, and then you're done. And then once I have this done, we'll have the full Ice Age Elevate, dropped skid, and then the classic rails, Hellfire wheels, and then on to the next project. So I'm just grinding away here. It's 2:42 in the morning. Got the whole Ice Age skid in, shocks, wheels, got the bolt hole drop done, got everything back on here. So just kind of the process of what I do is start off with obviously pulling your skid bolts. You got one on each side in the front, 17 mil socket. It's handy if you have like an impact of some kind. With the Loctite, it generally should just zip out each side and you shouldn't have any issues. So loosen your axle off. It's a 16 mil socket on the other side. And so you gotta loosen your tensioners inside here. It's a 5/8 for your locking nut, 10 mil for your adjuster nut. Back those all the way off. So yeah, loosen your 16 mil axle nut so your axle's loose so it can slide. Then your 10 mil, loosen that 5/8 locking nut on the inside. Let's see if we can get zoomed in there. Maybe. There's a locking nut 5/8 in there. So once you get that back, you can pull the skid bolts out, and then your skid will just slide right out. After that, generally what I do here is I have the skid set up, skid I pulled out on one side, Ice Age rails on the other side, and then I just essentially start transferring everything over. There's no really right or wrong way to do this. Probably other people have many ways of doing it, but I pretty much just pull your 15s, you got some 13s, you got T40, just start swapping everything. You can start at the front, you can start at the back. Your whole suspension arm here, all you gotta do is just pull this bolt and this bolt, and then you can essentially just transfer this whole shock system over. I just leave the stock shocks in, bolt it back in, and then I swap my shocks, and then you kind of have everything holding together. So I find that's a little bit easier. I'll see if I can get a better angle for you guys here, so you can see what I'm talking about. So pull this one, and slide the bolts out the other side. You can transfer this whole, either stock shocks in. Pull this bolt down here. 13 on each side, zips out each way. Transfer it over to your rails. Bolt it back in the rails. Don't tighten it up, leave it loose. That way you can wiggle everything in. You can put the rear shock or rail crossbar in there. And then once you have it just kind of loose, then you can do your shock swap. It's 13, I believe, for those bolts. Then your limiter straps, your anti-stab kit. Just start transferring everything over. Then at that point, when you do you kind of get that all bolted back in, put your Hellfire wheels on. For the sliders, I just spray a little bit of a couple shots of a little lube in there, and then it slides right on nicely. Slide right to the front. I screw in a little bolt from the bottom side in the front that goes into the rail to keep this from coming off. And then I just take a mark at the back. So right here, I just make a little bit of a mark, kind of in line with the rail here. And then zip cut, hacksaw, whatever you want. Just cut it pretty close to that. Round off the bottom here a little bit, and that's good enough. And then you're done with the Hyfax. And yeah, if you guys got any questions, by all means drop them in the comments. It's pretty straightforward. It's essentially just transferring everything over. And then yeah, here for the elevate, I dropped it into this bottom hole. But if you're not doing an elevate kit, then you just leave it in your factory upper spot there. The final piece of the puzzle going on here. The cheetah bars, like always. I'm running the Munster bar with the 2.5-inch risers with the T-post adapter, Signature Series grips, and 2.5 is gonna be better. I used to run 3, but this T-post adapter I believe is a little bit taller, maybe 1/2 inch-ish. So yeah, we're running 2.5-inch riser, and it feels great. So we'll get her all plugged back in and get a final view of the sled. She is done. It's been a lot of hours. Excited to ride this thing. Oh man, been a couple days of wrenching. The sled is glistening. I'm running these ClearTech products this year. I just finished putting a ceramic sealant on top of my wrap, which should help repel grime, all that kind of stuff, even snow. Like I'm really excited to see, like, the sled doesn't hold much snow as it is already, but I feel like with the slickness that the ceramic will create, it's gonna just shed every little bit of snow. I got the Bomber soap to do my heavy cleans and washes from road grime and stuff like that. And then there's a off-road detailer that I'm using just to touch things up. Every so often I'll just give it a wipe down with this stuff and keep it all fresh. And yeah, I'm gonna test her out and see how it goes. Got a lot of cool products. A ClearTech, also got a screen protector for my 7S. They make them for lights and this Gen 5 screens and a whole bunch of protection for all sorts of stuff. So definitely hit up ClearTech and go check them out. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on how this goes. Polaris is done. I've spent the last 2 days building this thing. About 24 hours into building it. Pretty much haven't slept, so I'm really excited to get this sled out in the snow and let you guys know about everything I did to this thing. I'm gonna go out tomorrow, get some content, and then I'm going to do a full detailed build review for you guys. So we'll have a quick upload tomorrow with just some building scene stuff, and then I'll do a full detailed video on everything that I did and why. So yeah, see you guys soon.